Greetings once more. A couple things I wanted to discuss today. One of them concerns an article that I saw on the Economist magazine. And basically the title of the article was something like, "Men and Women Are Drifting Apart." And not surprising, I noticed this, and people are drifting apart too, largely due to social media and other things. But at any rate, you had to pay to read the whole article, and I didn't do that, but I did read the comments. And there are a lot of comments by women explaining why indeed they are doing, basically pushing men away. And of course, there are a lot of reasons. They are tired of men being bossy, men running things, men telling them what they can and can't do with their bodies, expecting them to be subservient, passive, all those sorts of stereotypes that we're used to, And of course, going along with men and women drifting apart, children, they're having fewer children, people are nowadays, and that's not surprising either because of the complications and the expenses and things like that. It's getting very, very expensive to have children, so that's on the decline as well. Well, the comments, lo and behold, there's a bunch of men in there commenting too. You know what? Every single one was an asshole. None of them got it. They're all oblivious. They're all defensive. They're all fragile, as the common modern term for it is, male fragility. And there are reasons why people feel that way. Partly is they've been, they're used to being, in control and having all the benefits and, the rights to this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh, they're going to take that away. So, they get very insulting, not understanding at all. And it's just turning into a big mess, at least for the men. So I'm basically on the side of the women in this issue. But I didn't comment because I don't need to. I guess I could say, I support women in whatever they want to do and how they want to do it. And of course, there's going to be some exceptions because you're going to have, 0.17% of women who are going to be Nazi genocide types. Not nearly as high as toxic males. But for the most part, I think it's a great thing that there's some liberation going on here. And as you may know, the lessons of history, women's liberation, it started in the 60s, really ended a lot of the stereotypes, the subservient housewife, mother who depended on the man, made no decisions, father knows best, and all that crap. So anyway, interesting that we have this divide now, and that the men who I have been calling Bobsolete, obsolete, really, really don't get it, right? Now, that's the first issue. Second thing is, wanted to talk about these sort of fascist groups, Pride Boys and things like that. There's a whole bunch of them, and we know what they've done. They hide their faces, and they do these riots and protests and carry guns and make a mess and things like that. And I saw someone discussing this, and, on one level, they nailed it because they were talking about politics and ideologies and things like that. So yes, they're fascists, they're not socialists, they're not whatever, and there are parallels with other fascist movements throughout history and things like that. It's like, yes, that's true, but it's only one lens. So what is another lens that explains really what's going on here? Why these groups of younger men, angry, are banding together into these groups? Well, I guarantee you that if you take any one of these people, look at their background, their history, their childhood, you're going to encounter a shitty childhood. And not only that, you're going to find that they didn't do well in school, which isn't a bad thing, but also that they had no real support by adults, from adults. So their parents may have been overwhelmed, busy working, or not there, not available, alcoholic or whatever. Teachers didn't give a crap. Graduate from high school, don't give a damn. So lo and behold, they, get online and go down some rabbit hole with these groups, and it's not surprising why they end up there. They end up there because they're damaged people. So when people have these traumatic childhoods, the way that they commonly deal with it is by, I've mentioned this before, drugs, alcohol, crime, or on the other hand, being continuously occupied with some skill, craft, job, activity, something like that. Well, you might ask yourself, what are these young fascist types doing? Which is it? They might be continuously occupied in their head, but basically what they're doing is forming delinquent gangs. So they are gangs that have no adults supervision, no adult authority, no adult wisdom, teaching, nothing. So it's like the Lord of the Flies all over again. That book, and the movie, I think, where basically these completely disenfranchised, cut off young people band together because they have no other option. And then what do? They commit crimes. So, or they'll just get right on the borderline of committing a crime, make it look like they're going to commit a crime, and then back down at the last moment so that they don't have to take any responsibility or blowback from their actions. So anyway, this goes along with some of the other things I've discussed about having different lenses. So you can look at things completely, economically, politically, blah, 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 something like that. But you're not going to fully grasp things unless you figure out where it's coming from. And in most cases, all you have to do is look at the child. You look at the way the person grew up and the way they were conditioned. So anyway, that's where that comes from. And these groups are basically delinquent gangs that have never had any support in their lives. So they have no other option. So anyway, what's the way to help people like that? Well, it's not to insult them, not to say they're morons, not to say they're cowards, but basically, well, you could say therapy, but I mean, it's like they need to be reached out to and, be made contact with one at a time and drawn out of these toxic cycles, lifestyles, into something healthier. And that can be done. Are there enough people out there that are ready, willing, and able to do that? Well, that's the next question. But anyway, I guess I'll leave it there. And, I just suggest that we don't immediately jump into judgment when we see people doing this stuff. Adios. I might add to the section about men and women drifting apart and men being angry that they feel that they're being, pushed aside and they're not going to have these benefits anymore that they think are their birthright. Well, the other lens of, how we basically got here, indigenous people and their customs and their gender roles and things like that. Well, when you think about it, how did men and women interact in a lot of these cultures? And it's funny because it's often very, very much the opposite, because the women, a lot of times, were in complete charge, in complete control. They made all the decisions. What men did was they hunted, they provided, and they protected. So this is what created a safe, stable environment for the women and the children to live and survive. So anyway, what we have now is not that, because in our culture of, continuous competition, we have men who are really in it for themselves. They might think that they're not, like, oh, I'm a good dad and things like that, but really they're not, because they're simply looking out for their own interests. They are not putting the women, the children, the family first. And basically, that's what you've got to do. That's the nice, responsible, kind, loving thing to do. Anything else is basically pretty selfish and toxic.